Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today's video is going to be a video ranking all of the Octopath Traveler 2 characters from best to worst. This is going to be a character tier ranking list, so we're going to be ranking all of the characters in the game based off of how good they are in battle. With that being said, let's get right on to ranking the Octopath Traveler 2 characters. Keep in mind that this is not a tier list for speedruns of the game. This is for a general playthrough of the game where you might do optional stuff. Alright, so the first character we are ranking is Hikari. Hikari is the warrior class character of the game. So Hikari's ability is basically learn skills where he can duel people, and if he wins a duel, he learns their ability. And he can get a ton of different abilities in the game by doing this. And he is one of the strongest physical attack characters in the game. He gets a lot of very good abilities. He can do a lot of damage to all enemies in normal battles. And he also gets very powerful single target skills for doing a lot of damage to boss enemies as well. His latent power allows him to get access to a few different attack skills. One of his best ones is Tengrek Susan, which does a lot of damage to a single target. It can be very good for boss fights. And then outside of his latent ability, he basically can use Shinjuman Jagiri, which he gets from his main story quest, which does a ton of damage. It hits all enemies. My endgame strategy for random battles in Octopath Traveler 2 was basically to have Hikari get boosted 4 times by giving him BP from somebody with the merchant class ability, where he can give BP to another character. I would have him boost 4 times, and then I would use Shinjuman Jagiri to do a ton of damage, and most of the time I would kill all the enemies in one attack from him doing that. One of his best abilities for boss fights is Brang's Blade, which is also learned through the story for him. Brang's Blade, basically, if you get 4 BP and you fully boost Hikari all the way, you can do that move. Hikari is overall an incredibly good character. He starts off decent at the beginning of the game, but by the middle point and the end of the game, he is an absolute force to be reckoned with. He is an amazing character, one of the best characters in the game, no doubt about it. Alright guys, next up we are ranking Particio. Particio is another incredible character in the game. He begins as a merchant class. And man, this guy's latent ability, it is one of the best in the entire game. It has got to be one of the most overpowered latent abilities in the entire game. Particio, with his latent power, basically uses it and then he gets full BP back instantly. So basically, Particio can use his latent power, get full BP, and then he can use donate BP to give his BP to another character to get them full BP at the start of a battle. Not only is that really good with Particio, but another thing that's really good with him is that as the merchant class, he gets the collect ability. And so he can collect from enemies in battle and get a lot of leaves that way. This really helps, especially early in the game. And then he also gets the merchant passive ability, where you get more leaves from winning battles. And so because of that, he makes getting money a lot easier in the game. Also, as a merchant, he gets the hired help ability, which is one of the best abilities in the entire game. You can do so many good summons with hired help. The foreign assassin summon that you get with the hired help ability is one of the best abilities in the entire game. Overall, Particio was a really good character in the game. I think he is one of the best characters in the game. He gets so many good abilities. His latent power is absolutely amazing. He is a must-use character in Octopath Traveler 2. For our third character, we have Throne. So Throne is a very interesting character. First off, her talent ability is incredibly good. Her talent is basically Blessing of Darkness. And it makes it so that at nighttime, you get an attack buff during battle for 3 turns at the start of a fight, and that is incredibly good. That gives you extra attack power. The attack buff that Blessing of Darkness gives really helps out a lot, and it can really help out for those random battles that you get into when you're trying to do just enough damage to kill all the enemies in one move. Aside from that, her latent power is pretty good in the game and is pretty versatile. Basically, she gets 2 turns in a row, so that can be really good if you set it up right and you use it at the right time. So it's a pretty good latent power that she gets. Overall, Throne is decent early in the game. I think early in the game she struggles a little bit. And once you get to the later parts of the game where you can choose a secondary job class for her and she can learn other abilities from other classes, then she gets a whole lot better. So yeah, basically Throne struggles a little bit in the earlier parts of the game, but once you get another secondary job class for her and you get some better abilities for her, then she can really do well. Her talent, Blessing of Darkness, is very good throughout the entire game. Her lay-in power is very good as well. Overall, a very good character, but not one of the absolute best. Alright, fourth we got Oswald. So Oswald is absolutely amazing in the early parts of the game. His magic spells can hit all enemies, he can do a lot of damage, and he absolutely crushes most of the random battles early on in the game. The problem with Oswald is that by the second half of the game, his magic spells start to fall off and other characters start to outdamage him by a lot. His latent power is pretty good for boss fights when you're fighting a target by itself, but for random battles where you're often fighting multiple enemies at once, his latent power doesn't really help out all that much. Meanwhile, his talent is really useful for finding out enemy weaknesses, but once you found out the enemy weakness, then it's pretty much useless beyond that. Overall, one of the best characters in the game at the start of the game, but by the end of the game, Oswald falls off. He's kind of in the middle by the end of the game. He's not as good as he was at the beginning of the game. Alright, so next up is Temenos. Temenos is the healing character early on in the game, so he's very valuable because of that. He gets a lot of light element abilities that can do decent damage, but overall his latent power, which allows him to do shield point damage no matter what the enemy weakness is one of the best in the game, especially for boss fights. However, early in the game, he is kind of limited before you get that secondary job class, and he is kind of stuck as a healing character, and it's not until later in the game that his latent power begins to shine when you get the other classes and their abilities, and then he can start doing some good attack abilities with his latent power and basically drain the enemy's SP while doing lots of damage to them. Meanwhile, his talent is very good for random battles. It basically lowers enemies' attack, and it basically makes it so that they're blinded for one turn. This definitely helps out with random battles. It's a very good, nice passive talent ability to have. Overall, I think Temenos is a good character. However, that being said, he's not one of the absolute best characters in the game. He is still very good though. I think he's well worth using. He's just not the absolute best character in the entire game. Next up is Ocha, and basically Ocha is a very underrated and overlooked character. Her entire power really depends on how much effort you put into capturing the right monsters. You can get some really good abilities that help you out a ton. But again, you have to capture the right monsters and you have to use them at the right times. Ocha's latent power is a decent latent power. Basically, she can either hit all targets for a lot of damage, or she can do a lot of damage to one enemy. Ocha overall can be a very good character. You just gotta really capture the right monsters with her. Overall though, she is definitely a really good choice to have on your team, and she is definitely one of the better party members in the game. As long as you get those really good monsters with those really good abilities, Ocha will really excel and she will do very well on your team. She can be a very good character as long as you put the effort and get the good monsters and capture them with her. Alright, so next up we got Agnes the Dancer, and in my opinion she is one of the weakest characters in the game. So basically Agnes' gimmick is that her latent power makes some single target skills affect everybody, and that can be good, but it is limited in the skills you can affect. She also gets some other abilities like her ability to increase attack power, but the problem is that ability only affects one person unless you get the right moves to set it up so it affects everybody. So Agnes overall, a lot of characters outdamage her. A lot of characters can support the party better than her. I would say overall she's one of the worst characters in the game. Alright guys, so now we're on the final character of the tier list. We got Cassidy. So Cassidy is an apothecary. She can basically mix items using her concoct ability, and she can make very good healing items, very good debuffing items, very good items in general. She is a very good support character. Cassidy's only weakness is that other characters are better at doing damage than she is, But other than that, she is a really great support character. You just got to stick to her as a support character, use her in that role, and she can really excel very well at that role. Overall, I want to say thank you so much for watching the video. I really greatly appreciate it. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel and also follow me over on Twitch. As always, guys, I really greatly appreciate it. Thank you for watching the video, and I will catch all of you in the next video. Thank you all so much.